Today we're filming on location. I ran away from home. Having a standoff with my teenager. As you know, these things happen and we have to work on enforcing boundaries. And we started, me and my teenager today, with a discussion about schoolwork. The teenager shockingly did not want to do the schoolwork. And I thought it was an okay discussion. The teenager got mad and kind of stormed away, as teenagers do. Then some time went by, the teenager came back. I thought, here we go, we're gonna do the schoolwork. No, my teenager came down and looked me in the eye and said, "Are you done having an attitude?" I sat there calmly and looked at them and said, I didn't have an attitude. First I did stop and think, did I have an attitude? I don't know. Sometimes I have an attitude. I'm like, no, kind of replayed it really quick, in my head. I didn't have an attitude. So I told him, I can have an attitude. Would you like me to? And they got a little huffy, and I don't even remember what was said, but kind of tuned them out after that because they wanted to fight, and I was not going to engage. Argue, fight, not physical, obviously. Maybe that wasn't obvious, that's why I said it. They wanted to argue some more, and I wasn't going to. They knew what was expected of them. This is not the first time they've ever had to do schoolwork. They know what's required. They know it's legally required. We've been through all of that. What happens if you don't? What happens if you drop out? And that's where they went at the end of their little standoff, was that they were just going to drop out. And I said, okay, we've had this discussion for a couple years that you just want to drop out. You can drop out when you get a full-time job, because your rent will be due, the bill for the internet will be due, for your cell phone, all of the things that are provided simply because you live here. If you live here and drop out of school, you better get a full-time job and a vehicle to get you to and from your full-time job. Let me know your decision. And then they huffed and went away. And that's kind of where we're at now. I was supposed to drive them to a practice tonight. They never came downstairs. I texted them, they were in their room, and said, tell your coach that you're not coming. Meanwhile, I had a conversation with the coach. Didn't hear anything back. Waited 10 minutes, texted again and said, please respond. And you get that little check mark, oh, they read it. Didn't respond. So I pulled the router and went upstairs and took the phone. And then I had other things to do tonight if I wasn't giving them a ride. So that's where we're at now, on location. And who knows what I'll walk into when I get home. But over the course of my time in parenting, some key aspects from this that I want to share is, first, having some steps. We have the boundary, but we have some steps to get there. So we've had multiple conversations about why school is important, what happens if you don't go to school, what truancy is, all of those things. My teenagers had the idea of dropping out before. We've talked about that, and getting GEDs and all of the things. And right now the setup that they have is like the easiest way to graduate from school. It's pretty, I don't know if it could be easier, but still they don't want to do it, which I understand. It's school. This is the part of life where they learn you have to do things sometimes, being a responsible person, whether you want to or not. And this is one of them. So those were our steps. We've had these steps for years. And then tonight, the attitude was just a bit much for me. And coming down asking if I was done with my attitude, yeah, we kind of jumped ahead to the actual boundary of, you know what, fine. We've had multiple conversations. You want to go down this path? This is what it looks like. And here we are. So when I get back, if my teenager apologizes and has done the schoolwork, they might get the phone back, maybe even the internet. I don't know. I think we'll have some talks about moving forward here. And if they don't, I will keep the phone. I will keep the internet off. And it's not a control. I know some parents use those things as control. This isn't controlling. This is my child is talking about dropping out. And so the expectation, if they drop out and if they continue not to do their schoolwork like they're going to drop out, then they need to pay for their things. Because I'm not going to pay for them to just sit there and play video games and talk to friends or whatnot. So this will be a crash course in what they think they want, because it sounds really easy to drop out. but somebody has to support them, and they have to learn that. If they're not going to school and they're living in my house, it won't be me. So, some boundaries and a school standoff. I'll update you later. Wish me luck. I wish you luck too. Hey, you'll notice I've changed locations. I'm back home now. Just wanted to update. Did have a conversation when I got home. I had a letter waiting for me written by my teenager. We had a little talk about it because it was still very much playing a victim. So we worked that out. We had some discussion, and good or bad, one of those moments. It wasn't pure defiance, as you know, it seemed earlier. My teenager actually was having a bad day, a bad moment. So we talked about that, and then how to deal with those emotions, that we don't just lash out at people, and we're still responsible even when we feel negatively. So a big emotional night, but good ending, and hopefully more lesson learned, teachable moments.